You're staring again. The voice was calm, too calm for someone surrounded by 100 watching eyes. Princess Lyriel didn't look away. I am observing, she replied, her tone composed, though the faint shimmer beneath her pale, luminous skin betrayed something more unsettled. Adrian Vale shifted slightly in his seat, glancing around the vast amphitheater of Solistaro Academy. Every tiered row curved elegantly upward, filled with students whose presence felt precise. Perfect. Their features were almost human, but never quite. Eyes glowing faintly in unnatural hues, hair that moved as if touched by invisible currents, skin reflecting soft light like polished glass. And all of them were looking at him. Right, Adrian said under his breath. Observing, that sounds less creepy. A few nearby students reacted instantly, not to his words, but to his tone. One of them, a tall girl with elongated ears and violet irises, tilted her head. He speaks without deference, she murmured. He lacks awareness, another replied softly, her voice melodic but edged with quiet judgment. Lyriel remained still, watching. Adrian leaned back slightly, adjusting the sleeve of his uniform. It didn't quite fit the same way it did on the others. Nothing here really did. You know, he added casually, glancing toward Lyriel without fully turning. Where I'm from, staring usually means you either want to say something or throw something. A faint pause, then. I want neither, Lyriel said. That made him smile. Good start. A ripple of quiet reactions spread through the surrounding students. Not laughter, not quite, but something close to confusion. Humor, especially this kind, didn't translate cleanly here. At the center of the chamber, a holographic construct flickered to life, an intricate model of a multi-system alliance network, glowing with shifting lines of political tension and trade routes. First-year diplomatic assessment will begin, an instructor announced, her voice echoing with layered harmonics that suggested more than one vocal frequency. Participants will be evaluated on strategic influence, negotiation stability, and predictive alignment. The display expanded, becoming more complex, fractures appearing between systems, simulated crises forming in real time. Adrian leaned forward slightly. Okay, he murmured. That's a lot. It is a foundational exercise, Lyriel said, her eyes still fixed on the projection. Most fail to reach equilibrium. Comforting, she glanced at him then, briefly. You will fail, she added, not unkindly. Adrian considered that, then nodded. Statistically likely. That earned a longer look. Not mocking, not dismissive, curious. The simulation began. Students around them moved almost immediately, their hands weaving through the air as they interfaced with the system through neural links invisible to the human eye. Data flowed, alliances shifted, outcomes recalculated in fractions of a second. Adrian didn't move, not at first, he just watched. The network pulsed, growing more unstable as competing decisions clashed, trade lines collapsed. Border conflicts ignited. Entire systems destabilized under the weight of overcorrection. Lyriel's hands moved gracefully, her control precise as she adjusted variables, stabilizing one region while sacrificing another. Her focus was absolute until she noticed something strange. The humans still hadn't engaged. You are not participating, she said. I am, Adrian replied quietly. You have not interfaced. I don't need to, he said, eyes fixed on the shifting patterns. That drew attention. Several nearby students turned, their expressions sharpening. That is not possible, one said. He cannot access the system, another added. Lyriel frowned slightly. Then what are you doing? Adrian exhaled slowly, watching where it breaks. The network surged violently, 3 major alliances collapsing at once. Gasps echoed softly through the chamber. Students reacted instantly, trying to contain the damage, but their movements were too precise, too calculated. Each fix created 2 new fractures. Adrian tilted his head. There, he said. He reached forward, not with a neural link, not with elegance, but with a simple manual override panel embedded at the edge of his station. Outdated, almost decorative, he pressed one control. Nothing flashy happened. No dramatic shift, but the cascade slowed just slightly. Lyriel's eyes widened. What did you do? Adrian shrugged faintly, stopped them from trying to win. Silence not complete, but heavy. The instructor's voice didn't interrupt. The system continued, and for the first time since the simulation began, the network didn't collapse further. It held, unstable, fragile, but holding. The surrounding students stared, not at the projection anymore, at him. He did not optimize, one whispered. He reduced conflict probability without maximizing gain. another said, almost disbelieving. Lyriel didn't speak. Her gaze remained locked on Adrian, something deeper forming behind her luminous eyes. "You chose imbalance," she said softly. Adrian leaned back again, folding his arms. "I chose not making things worse. That is not how this system is designed." "Yeah," he said lightly, glancing at her. "That might be the problem." For a moment no one responded, because something about that answer didn't fit, didn't belong, and yet the system was still stable. The instructor finally spoke, her layered voice quieter now. "Human Adrian Vale." He looked up. "Yes." A pause longer than expected. "Continue." A few students shifted uncomfortably. That wasn't standard protocol, Lyriel noticed, and she noticed something else too. The way the system, this advanced, hyper-optimized construct, seemed to respond differently when he acted. Not more efficiently, but more naturally, as if it understood him better than it should. Her gaze lingered, unblinking now. "You are not what you appear to be," she said quietly. Adrian smiled faintly, not looking at her this time. "Yeah," he said, "I get that a lot." And somehow, that only made her watch him more. The simulation should have ended. Instead, it escalated. The holographic network above them pulsed harder, its light sharpening into unstable flares as new variables injected themselves into the system, unauthorized, unannounced. Adrian noticed it first. "That's not part of the exercise," he said quietly. Lyriel's posture shifted instantly, her attention snapping back to the projection. "No," she replied, her voice tightening. "It is not." Around them, the other students continued at first, confident, controlled. But that control began to fracture as the system behaved in ways it wasn't designed to. Trade routes rerouted themselves. Defense protocols activated without input. Entire regions of the simulation went dark. A sharp tone echoed through the chamber, different from the structured signals of the academy. This one carried urgency. "This is a live override," one student said, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Who initiated it?" "No authorization request was issued," another added. The instructor stepped forward, her expression no longer neutral. "All participants disengage." No one could. Their neural links remained active but unresponsive. The system had locked them in. Adrian slowly sat up straighter. "Okay, that's definitely not normal." Lyriel turned to him. "Can you disengage manually?" He gave her a look. "If I could, I'd be doing that instead of sitting here making commentary." Despite the tension, a faint flicker of something passed through her expression. Almost irritation, almost amusement. The projection shifted again. This time it wasn't subtle. A new presence entered the network, one that didn't behave like any known faction. Its movements were too precise, too adaptive. It didn't compete, it predicted, and it was winning. Students began to falter. Even the strongest among them, those with the highest synchronization and control, found their decisions countered before they were fully executed. "This is impossible," one of the elite students said, her voice unsteady for the first time. "It is anticipating us." "It is learning," another whispered. Lyriel's gaze hardened. "No, it already knows." Her hands moved again, faster now, weaving through complex adjustments, but even she was being outpaced. Adrian watched, quiet still. "You see it, don't you?" Lyriel said suddenly, not looking at him. He didn't answer right away. "Yeah," he said after a moment. "What is it?" He exhaled slowly, eyes tracking the shifting patterns. "It's not trying to control the system," he said. "It's controlling us." That drew immediate reactions. "That is illogical," one student snapped. "The system cannot influence external decision-making." Adrian tilted his head slightly. "You sure about that?" The projection flared again. 3 students, sectors collapsing simultaneously. Not because they made mistakes, because they made the same asterisk decision. A silence spread, heavy, uncomfortable. Lyriel's voice lowered. "It is guiding outcomes." "Yeah," Adrian said, "by making you all think you're choosing them." That hit harder because it felt true. The instructor stepped forward again, her voice sharper now. "All students cease." The system surged violently, her connection cut mid-command. For the first time since the beginning of the exercise, something close to fear flickered across the chamber. Lyriel turned to Adrian fully now. "Then how do we stop it?" He leaned forward slowly, resting his elbows on his knees, eyes still fixed on the network. "You don't," he said. "That is not an acceptable answer." "It's the correct one," he replied calmly. "You're trying to outthink something that's already inside your thinking." "That is what it wants," he finished. A pause long, then. "What would you do?" She asked, not as a princess, not as a superior, as someone asking. Adrian glanced at her briefly, then back to the system. I'd stop playing. Confusion rippled through the nearby students. That would result in total collapse, one said immediately. Loss of all controlled regions, another added. Failure. Adrian nodded slightly. Yeah. Lyriel studied him. And you are comfortable with that outcome. He shrugged faintly. Better than letting something else decide everything for you. The system pulsed again, stronger, almost reactive, as if it had heard him. Lyriel noticed. It is responding to you, she said quietly. A few heads turned sharply. That is not possible. He has no neural link. No signal. Adrian leaned back again, running a hand through his hair. I'm starting to feel like not possible is kind of a theme today. Despite everything, a small, unexpected sound escaped one of the students, a short, confused laugh. It vanished quickly, but it had been there. The tension shifted, just slightly. Lyriel's gaze didn't waver. If we do nothing, the system wins. Adrian shook his head. No, if you keep reacting the way it expects, it wins. Then what is the alternative? He looked at her directly this time. Do something it can't predict. Silence, not empty, focused. And what would that be? She asked. Adrian smiled faintly, something irrational. Before anyone could respond, he reached forward, again using the manual interface ignored by everyone else. And he shut down his own sector, completely. No control, no input. Just gone, the system stuttered, for the first time since the override began. It hesitated, every student felt it, that tiny, almost imperceptible pause. Lyriel's eyes widened. It didn't expect that. Adrian leaned back, folding his arms. Yeah, neither did you. The system surged again, but differently now. Less certain, more reactive, and for the first time. It wasn't in full control anymore. Lyriel turned back to the projection, something shifting in her expression, not just curiosity now. Understanding, and something else, something more dangerous, because whatever this human was, he wasn't just outside the system. He was disrupting it, and that shouldn't have been possible. The system didn't collapse, it adapted. The moment Adrian's sector went dark, the network recoiled, not chaotically but cautiously, like something realizing it had been touched by an unknown variable. The aggressive precision that had dominated the simulation began to fracture into hesitation, its predictions no longer absolute. And then, it changed its target. The projection shifted, lines of influence tightening, converging not across the network but toward a single point, toward him. Oh, that's new, Adrian muttered. Lyriel saw it instantly. It is isolating you. Yeah, he said, watching the narrowing patterns. Guess it doesn't like surprises. The system surged again, attempting to rebuild control. But this time it wasn't subtle. It forced decisions, overwhelming nearby sectors, pushing other students into rapid, instinctive reactions. And just like before, they fell into sync, not intentionally, but predictably. The system stabilized around their responses, regaining its rhythm. Lyriel's expression darkened. It is reasserting control through them. Through habits, Adrian corrected quietly. Through what you've all been trained to do. Her hands hovered in the air, trembling slightly, not from fear, but from something far more unfamiliar. Uncertainty. I cannot counter it, she admitted. No one spoke after that, because if she couldn't, no one could. The system tightened further, closing around Adrian's inactive sector, attempting to force a response where none existed. It pulsed, waited, adjusted, but there was nothing to predict. Nothing to manipulate. Adrian leaned forward again slowly, eyes locked on the projection. You're stuck, aren't you? He murmured. A faint distortion rippled through the system, almost like an answer. Lyriel watched him carefully. You are speaking to it. Not really, he said, just thinking out loud. That is not how interaction functions. Yeah, he replied, a small smile forming. That might be why it's working. The system surged again, stronger this time, more aggressive, as if attempting to overwhelm the anomaly by sheer force. The chamber lights flickered. The instructor tried to regain control, her voice cutting in sharply. All participants, prepare for forced disengagement. The system blocked her again. This wasn't an exercise anymore. This was something else. Something that had slipped through whatever safeguards were meant to contain it. Lyriel turned back to Adrian. If it regains full synchronization, it will lock every participant into its predictive loop. Yeah, he said, and then. He exhaled slowly. Then none of you are making decisions anymore. Silence heavy. Real, her gaze didn't waver. Then we must break it. Adrian glanced at her, then at the others. Every student in that chamber, powerful, intelligent, perfectly trained, trapped inside something they couldn't outthink. He nodded once. Okay, he said quietly, then stop trying to win. That is not. Just stop, he said more firmly this time. Something in his tone cut through the room. Not authority, not command, but certainty. Lyriel felt it. And for reasons she couldn't fully explain. She listened, slowly she lowered her hands, disconnected, not physically, but intentionally. The system reacted immediately, its patterns destabilizing again, searching for her input, her control. It didn't come, one by one, hesitantly the others followed. Confusion spread, then resistance, then stillness, no optimization, no counter-strategies, no reaction, just silence. The system pulsed harder, faster, trying to provoke. Trying to force movement, but there was none. Adrian watched it closely. You can't predict nothing, he said softly. The network flickered violently. For a moment it looked like it might collapse entirely. Then, it dimmed, not defeated. Not destroyed, but disengaged. The projection froze. Then slowly the entire system powered down. The chamber fell into complete silence. No alarms, no movement. Just the sound of 100 controlled breaths slowly returning to normal, and one very human exhale. Okay, Adrian said, leaning back. That was a lot. No one laughed this time, because they were still processing. The instructor stepped forward, her expression no longer composed, her layered voice quieter now. That was not part of the academy systems. No one needed confirmation. They all knew. Lyriel didn't look at her, she was looking at him. You did not defeat it, she said slowly. Adrian shrugged. Wasn't trying to. You denied it. He considered that. Yeah, I guess I did. A long pause followed. Then one of the elite students spoke, her voice uncertain. Why did it fail? No one answered immediately, until Lyriel did. Because it required us, she said. Her eyes remained on Adrian, and he refused to give it what it needed. That realization settled over the room like gravity. Everything they had been taught, every instinct, every strategy, had made them predictable, controllable, and the one being they had dismissed as weakest had been the only one outside that pattern. Adrian scratched his cheek lightly, suddenly aware of all the attention again. So, is this where I get expelled, or? A faint sound escaped someone, not quite a laugh, but close. The tension broke just slightly. Lyriel stepped toward him. Not rushed, not hesitant, deliberate. You changed the outcome of a system designed beyond your capabilities, she said. He raised an eyebrow. That sounds like I'm in trouble. It means, she continued, her voice softer now, that you see what we do not. He met her gaze, for the first time. There was no distance in it, no hierarchy, just recognition. Or maybe, he said quietly, I just see it differently. A small pause, then. That, Lyriel said, may be the same thing. Around them, the other students were still watching, but not the same way, not with curiosity, not with dismissal. Something else had replaced it, respect, uncertain, unfamiliar, but real. And as the system slowly rebooted in the background, quiet now, contained, one truth lingered in the air, unspoken but undeniable. The human boy who didn't belong there was the only one who had never truly been part of the system, and that had changed everything.